This video is made possible by mydiy.ie. Visit mydiy.ie and use code NEXTGEAR10 for 10% off your next order.
With the public's rapid move away from diesel-engined powered cars, Volkswagen gave me a challenge. They gave me a GTE hybrid and a Golf E to see which one I liked more. This isn't comparing like for like. An electric car and a hybrid performance car are not exactly comparable models, but they both have their unique features. So let's look into it. There is actually only one version of the E-Golf, and that is a different matter when it comes to the Golf itself, which is the GTE, GTD, GTI, and then of course standard diesel.
So in contrast to the GTE, this is a Golf electric, or E-Golf as it's called by Volkswagen. Volkswagen say it's just a Golf electric. Not a special car, not a different car, not an unusual car. This is, I hesitate to say DSG, but it's not a DSG. Obviously, there's only one gear in it, but it has a very similar type gear stick. But what I notice is there's a couple of little factors that are different in an electric Golf than other electric models of cars. One of those big factors is that when I coast in a Golf, it just coasts. I don't get regen braking. You have to actually press buttons and make it do things. So if I click my gear stick over, I get recuperation level 1. So when I lift off, it starts to recuperate power, and I can go to 2, I can go to 3, where it feels like someone's pushing the brakes on now, and I can take it right the way back up to turn it off if I like. Is an E-Golf really enough for Volkswagen to do? I mean, you know, it's just a Golf electric. Generally speaking, people who buy electric cars or buy into the electric dream tend to buy something that is quite obviously electric. You know, like the Nissan Leaf, where it's actually just an electric car and everyone knows it on site. So there's that element. And when you look in the used car market, or you look up other cars that are for sale that are electric, you'll find there's actually very few of them. There isn't really all that many electric cars for sale in Ireland today. But the E-Golf is a remarkable thing. I had 230 kilometers range when I fully charged it. That was 2 weeks ago. We charged it again for maybe an hour in between, and maybe a couple of hours yesterday, and a full charge last night. So in the last 2 weeks, we've charged this car realistically once in 2 weeks. Now think about that for a minute. That charge, so totaling up all the charges that we've paid so far for charging the car, we've spent €3.50 in 2 weeks on fuel. I want you to think about that for a minute. Now our mileage has been fairly low, let's make no mistake here. We're not like zooming up and down motorways the whole time, but this car is in daily use, back and forward to the school with the kids, driving the wife to work. She takes it to work as well. She absolutely adores this car. For any female viewers out there, she doesn't necessarily want to go on camera, but for any female viewers out there, make no mistake, my wife is 100% sold on electric. I don't blame her. I really love it too. Not just because it's a Golf, but because it's electric and it's easy to mind and own and keep. It literally costs next to nothing to keep the car running. I really enjoyed the time with the Golf. I really enjoyed the time with GTE. I would buy an electric Golf just because it would suit us perfectly down to the ground. I would desire the GTE or even the GTI. But it's our electric future we're here to do, and I love this yoke. This is a gorgeous vehicle, and I'd be happy enough to own it for the rest of my natural born days.
But then Volkswagen also make many other kinds of Volkswagen Golfs, including the GTE. So let's have a look at that one and figure out how many other Golfs there really are.
So there's a diesel Golf, petrol Golf, electric Golf, hybrid Golf. There's all of the Golfs. And the GTE is kind of the performance one, okay? So you got to think of this one as a sort of a Golf GTI hybrid or a Golf GTI light or whatever you want to call it. But this is a full hybrid, plug-in electric hybrid, so PHEV Volkswagen Golf. I prefer the electric one. I know I should prefer this one because it's a hybrid and because I can do this. And I have a button here. There's a button here. And it's behind the gear stick. From this side of the car, I can't see it, but it's over there. So I press GTE button and the car turns into performance version. And you hear the difference in noise. Now listen. And then it tries to rip its own tires off with the traction control every time you put your foot down. It's completely effortless. So you put your foot down and the car just, boom, goes. Almost instant torque. It uses the combination of the hybrid batteries and the petrol engine to try and do its job of what it's trying to do. You have a floppy paddle DSG box, which is absolutely, obviously, zero pressure to change gears there. It just like it does it so fast. But we're going on the motorway now, so it makes a good petrol oomph as you're going along there. But then, when you want to, you can click E-mode and you get these three things up on the screen here. One is for E-mode, so turn it into just all electric powered car. You can go for hybrid, which turns it back into obviously a hybrid that runs on both ends, or you can click on battery charge, which what that does is it limits the amount of time that the car runs on the batteries and tries to use any spare available excess power that the car is creating to charge the batteries, which is genius because when you get to the other end of your journey and you're going into a town, your battery's starting to fill up already. You get 50 kilometers, give or take, range on all electric. It will actually do 50 kilometers on that range. It doesn't sound like much, but it's meant to be a long distance thing. So you drive a long way and then at the other end you turn into E-mode and it runs through a city on all electric. So let's just have a little look at our screen here to tell us the average consumption. So long term, we've done 2.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Okay, that's really good, that's fine. The petrol power one has done 7 litres per 100 kilometers, which isn't as good, but combined between the two of them, you're actually saving money here. And plus, I'm in a performance car, so let's be serious. I'm not driving something that's optimized to be a hybrid or a car that's meant to save fuel. It's meant to be a performance car in that when you want it, that punch in the back of the neck suddenly comes on and the car gives you all of its power. And it really does punch you. It's just like boom, and you can feel it in your kidneys. It's an incredible mix of what I think Volkswagen is going to do in the future versus what Volkswagen's been doing in the past. Ireland is a diesel stronghold, and Europe is a diesel stronghold for the world. And that, in that way, diesel needs to kind of die off a bit. There's too many diesels on the road. There's not particularly bad about diesel in that respect. The current range of EU6 and future 7s, EU6, 7s and the ones that are into the future will all be ultra clean. But I think people have lost trust in diesel now, and of course everyone's looking at hybrid and electric. And even last night I spent a good 40 minutes rooting around the second-hand used car market websites looking for a small, affordable electric car, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't. Everything is Nissan Leaf, and they're not that affordable anymore. Even ones with fairly high mileage are still getting 5 and 6 grand. So it's not a cheap option to get into electric, but the savings are gigantic. It's a funny time we live in right now, but I think the future is really exciting, and I'm very hopeful for what it brings, particularly for our energy supplies and what's happening with our cars, our vehicles, our personal transport, and the way we think of what is personal transport and how are we using it. We need to be responsible for the environment and for the things that are in it. And that doesn't mean I want you to go out and buy all brand new cars, you know, this to scrap everything else and start again. I don't think that's the answer either. But we need to start paying attention to how we are abusing the environment, and people taking DPFs off of cars and emitting more soot than before. They're usually young people with no kids, because the minute you have kids, your world changes. Your world view and how things operate around you, and the environment you're leaving behind begins to change straight away, because you know you're doing what you do today has an effect on their lives in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I'm glad you watched this whole episode. Please hit the subscribe button. You can support this channel on the links down below, like Patreon or PayPal or whatever. But if you do none of that, just hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much. And until the next time, I will see you on the far side. This video is made possible by mydiy.ie. Visit mydiy.ie and use code NEXTGEAR10 for 10% off your next order.